It's taken 4 cabinet members, 3 chairs of planning and infrastructure, 3 heads of planning, and 2 council leaders to get to this point. The only destructive constant has been a spectre, a bit like Macbeth. One former Tory borough councillor floating around behind the scenes. He and his followers have stopped and prevented the sensible planning of this town for over 15 years. And his spectre still looms in the background. It is they who are responsible for leading this council into a JR and for the loss of our green fields which are now going to be built on. The old version of the plan, before the JR, included 3,400 units on green fields. Now, even with the inclusion of Manydown, we see all, if not all, of those same green fields proposed and 7,500 units required. So, Mr. Mayor, we come to what is in front of us. What do we do? It would be easy to succumb to the desperation of needing a local plan, the desire we all have to have something to prove that will help us fend off planning by appeal. But planning by appeal is here anyway. Half of all the greenfield allocations are already in as planning applications that will have to be determined outside of this process, regardless of what we do tonight. Not one of those sites will be judged against the strategic needs set out in this plan. Not one will contribute the infrastructure that we know is required. Not one will give us the housing we know we need, nor protect the things we hold dear on those sites, because each will be judged on their individual merits, not the strategic big picture. Set against that, what we do here tonight must be because this plan meets the needs and will deliver for the people of Basingstoke and Deane. I believe, as do my Labour colleagues, and I know other councillors in this chamber, that truly affordable housing is the #1 priority for any local plan. It matters that we allow what we allow to be built and what the policy framework enables the developers to do. We've argued consistently for a 50% affordable housing target and a 10-year split of 70% socially rented housing and 30% intermediate. And to make matters worse, we know that major employers on the Chinham Business Park who are actively looking to leave Basingstoke because of the choices being made in this plan. If we lose those jobs, if we lose those employers because of this plan, that would be a disgrace. When it comes to housing, we need a far more sophisticated policy. And we want to see a policy that promotes a cascade approach to ensuring socially rented housing that is affordable on all major sites. Wokingham, Oxford and Woking all have best practice policies. The Wokingham example is very interesting in the way that they set out 50% as a target and present a series of options as absolute minimums regardless of viability, in essence guaranteeing at least some affordable housing on all sites, but accepting that the starting point is 50%. The Woking example is also a good one, where a sliding requirement has been adopted which approves 50% on all strategic greenfield sites, and different requirements depending upon the scale of development and the location, as opposed to a flat catch-all percentage. Mr. Mayor, there is not one word about socially rented housing in policy CN1. So if we settle for this tonight, then we are simply signing away the future of these sites, where we will see housing that does not meet the needs of the people we represent. People need a single income of over £35,000 to begin to consider getting on the property ladder in Basingstoke, which excludes 45% of our local population. For an average price property, 60% of the population is excluded. Even to hold down private rented accommodation, you're looking at incomes of over £24,000. But we're also responsible for helping all those people who are earning no more than £11,000 on our register to secure a home that they can afford. Let me make this real for you. Kirsten Robinson lives in a rented house near Basingstoke with their partner and their 2 children. They live with the constant threat that they could be given 2 months' notice by their landlord and can't afford to buy a home in their local area. Kirsten said, and I quote, "Knowing that we could be asked to leave at any time is a constant worry, but we simply can't save enough each month to afford the deposit. I'm a teacher, and most people my age who own a house were helped out by their family. If it's not an option, then buying a family home is totally out of reach in our area. The quality of policy we see in other places puts ours to shame." On the green infrastructure strategy, in regard to Manydown, Mr. Mayor, if there was one site, ever a site that stood out in our ownership, in the interests of those we represent, in the context of the SHMAR, the Strategic Housing Market Assessment, and when we will appoint developers who will meet our brief, we can, in that sense, set a target of 50% affordable housing, with the security of the planning purposes for which the land was purchased. Remember the reason we bought many down? How the then council leader sold the idea of selling off all the council houses of the borough by promising to invest the money in new affordable housing? That promise is something we should deliver on. We are morally obliged to fulfil. But more than that, one that will meet the needs of so many local people for good quality affordable housing. It would be such a statement to everyone else of our aspiration and ambition to meet the needs of people in a sustainable, affordable and appropriately planned way. This could really be a landmark development if we plan it well enough, and 50% affordable housing is a crucial part of that plan. If Winchester can build council houses, it beggars belief that we're still behind the curve on this, and we should be leading the issues tackling the housing crisis. So, Mr. Mayor, putting all the angst to one side, and there'll be plenty of that this evening, and the desperation to get a local plan, and there'll be plenty of that this evening, the bottom line is whether this plan will deliver for the people of Basingstoke. And with all of the best intentions, and with everything that's been said, I do not believe it will.
1 minute. Thank you, Councillor Harvey.